everybody that he comes into contact with. And whenever his name was brought to my attention, one thing stood out. The person led with, I don't know if you've heard of this person, but he's a great member of our community. Everybody loves him. He's always there to help out. And oh, by the way, he was just elected to the school board for a 4-year term.
Amen.
So, Kurt is an elected official, and as far as I know, he is the only elected official ever in the state of North Carolina who is a person on the autism spectrum. So, Kurt was diagnosed as an adult, and he's going to share information about what he has learned along his journey and provide some recommendations for both adults in the room who are living with autism as well as families. And I've read through his presentation. I think it's great. I think you'll find it very insightful, and I hope that you will all give him another warm round of applause. Kurt, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Today is my speech is going to be about building a better future, one man's story. My name is Kurt Herbertson, and I was raised in a Christian family. My dad has been a pastor, and mom a pastor's wife. I was saved and asked the Lord into my heart at the age of 4.5 or 5 years old. My dad was rocking me to sleep after vacation Bible school one night, and we were talking about where Jesus lived. Dad said, in heaven and in the hearts of those who asked him to be their Lord and Savior. I bowed my head right then and asked for forgiveness and asked Jesus to come into my heart. I have been brought up in the church ever since. I am now 49 years old and have Asperger's syndrome, which is high-functioning autism. Autism is a brain disorder characterized by impaired social interaction, verbal and nonverbal communication, and often restricted and repetitive behavior. Parents usually notice signs in the first 2 years of their child's life. Signs of autism often develop gradually, though some children with autism develop at a normal pace and then regress. Autism affects information processing in the brain by altering nerve cells and their connection. The criteria for diagnosis is that symptoms are there by childhood, usually by age 3. That was the case with me, but I did not get an accurate diagnosis until I was an adult of 37. Why? It all started when I was 4 in kindergarten, when one of my teachers noticed I was shy and not playing and associating with the other kids and not progressing as a 4-year-old should. She suggested my parents have me tested. I was tested by doctors at Ladson, located near Charleston, South Carolina, and at Bowman Gray in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. They said I would never graduate, never play the piano, and never be able to live on my own. But I didn't listen to the naysayers. My first diagnosis was minimal brain dysfunction, followed by ADD, ADHD, OCD, just to name a few. One reason for this is that Asperger's syndrome was not widely known in this country until about 20 years ago, after my initial testing. I did have some friends in elementary school and high school, but not many. The friends I did have were friends who would stick by me and friends who I could play with or hang out with. I was scared of balloons when I was younger, and one of my female friends used to go to the trouble of hiding the balloons in her closet when she would invite me to her birthday parties. Now I play a clown, Lampy, for birthday parties, giving out already blown up balloons on a string. I was in regular classes, but would leave to go to special ed classes and speech therapy in elementary school. I was teased and bullied in elementary and high school. I was teased because of the music I listened to, I was teased because of how I crossed my legs. I was teased because I was not interested in sports and for the clothes I wore. I was even called names, including retarded, as well as many others. And even a special education teacher at my high school teased and bullied me. But I never got into fights in school. Instead, I would take it all in, taking it out at home in different ways on my sister and parents. I now deal with bullying by forgiving and not caring about what people think or say. I just let it go. Recently, I was bullied with some articles in the local paper about me being on the school board and being a volunteer photographer journalist. And I have let it go, not thinking about what was said about me. I believe math was my worst subject in school because I had trouble counting out money, decimals, rounding numbers, and division. I could do basic addition and subtraction and multiplication, but in high school could not understand algebra and the other high math courses. I liked English, which may have been my best subject, because I enjoyed spelling, literature, and writing stories and poems. Let me share with you one of my poems. Share with you one right quick here. And this is called He is My Valentine. He is my Valentine, Lord of heaven and earth. He has loved me forever, even before my birth. He provides what I need, and food and drink for my body, and His word upon which my soul does feed. He loves to walk in fellowship with me each day, and at His feet He tells me my burdens to lay. My praise and worship to Him I bring, and over me songs of joy He will sing. He writes upon the tables of my heart, and promises from me never to depart. One day He'll bring me home to live with Him eternally, and that day the one whom I love, His glorious face I shall see. It took a long time, but in high school we had a happy accident that helped me to progress immensely in my attempts at learning. I asked my dad one night to help me prepare for an English test, telling him that I had read the material thoroughly. When he quizzed me on the material, I could remember very little. He got mad and accused me of not having read the assignment at all, telling me to go back to my room and read it out loud so that he could know that I was doing what I was supposed to. When I finished, he quizzed me again, and I got almost everything right. That revealed to us I was an auditory learner, one who learns by hearing rather than seeing or reading, visual learner, or an aesthetic learner, one who learns by doing. This changed the way I approached learning from that time. I read aloud, I tape-recorded lessons to listen to later, I tried to find the materials I needed produced verbally. I had people study with me and talk to me about what we were trying to learn. History was okay, but I couldn't remember facts. And science I didn't care for. I had favorite teachers in school, and some were supportive and some not. My parents were also supportive and helped me study during my school years. At the end of my senior year in high school, every senior had to take the North Carolina competency exam. My parents requested that I be able to take the test in a room alone, where I would not have distractions, that I be allowed extra time because of my difficulty concentrating, and that I be given study materials that students were covering in class to take home to prepare more fully. Teachers and administrators resisted strongly, but my parents persisted and were granted the request. When the scores came in, I had made the second highest grade in my graduating class. The school said he didn't need that extra help But my parents pointed out, no, you see, with the right kind of support and help, he succeeded.
That's right.
You can succeed in school and life if you're given the right circumstances. Recognize your needs or your child's needs. Don't be embarrassed at who you or your child is. You or your child is a unique individual with their own gifts and talents. Ask for what you need. You may have to fight for it. That may mean you need to know what the law allows or requires for children or adults. I have had counselors who I could talk to over the years, and that is particularly important. You need someone who is not so close to you that they cannot see the forest for the trees, and who can hear what you are feeling as you let out your frustrations and concerns. One counselor was particularly important and helpful to me when we lived in Franklin, North Carolina. Jumping ahead to when I was 37 in 2004. This man called my parents and said he had a client that was very similar to me, and that she had Asperger's syndrome, high-functioning autism. He suggested that my parents have me tested by TEACH, which means Treatment and Education of Autistic and Communication Related Handicapped Children. It is a service, training, and research program for individuals of all ages and skill levels on the autism spectrum. My parents took me to the Gastonia, North Carolina TEACH Center in April 2004, where they tested me and quickly diagnosed me, stating that I most definitely had Asperger's, high-functioning autism, which my parents and I think fits me better than any earlier diagnosis. What a relief it was to know that what was actually different about me. Now I could understand and why I felt like I did, and why I reacted in ways different from what other people my age did. I have lived on my own since 1993, when we lived in South Louisiana, where I first got disability help. I do not drive and had to use a bus system in the city where I live. That is where I started having a support system of friends at church and in the community, and family members that would give me rides where I needed to go, to events, shopping, and other places. We moved to Lincolnton, North Carolina in April 2002, and by the end of May, I moved into an apartment of my own. In 2003, I started having one-on-one workers provided by Medicare and the Innovations Waiver under Partners Behavioral through certain agencies. My one-on-one worker usually comes Monday through Friday from 8:30 till 2:30 and helps with transportation, ways to organize my cluttered apartment, bills and finances, making sure I don't have spoiled food, and making sure I don't eat too much, because I sometimes can't tell when I'm full. I forgot to mention earlier that one of my co-diagnoses is sensory integration dysfunction, which we've talked about this week. That means I have trouble understanding what my senses are telling me. I cannot always tell when I am hot or cold, or when I am in pain. My parents could tell when I had a headache coming on before I could. But I have to limit myself sometimes, the amount I eat, because I don't know when I'm full. Different textures make me uncomfortable, so I seldom wear long sleeve shirts. My mom and dad used to teach me when I was young, because when I saw mom's pantyhose hanging in the bathroom, I would ask her to take them down, because they made me feel like I had strings in my mouth. I also have developed a support system in Lincolnton, friends at church and in the community, and family members who help give me rides and anything else I need. I can call somebody, and if that person is busy, I go to the next on the list. I do not take no to my request personally. That would only cause me frustration and anger. And there are probably 100 reasons why someone might not be able to help, none of which has to do with me. My parents jokingly say they are known around town as Kirk's parents, not Ann and Dave, because my support system is so big. I am involved in the community, volunteering as a photographer for an online newspaper, LincolnHerald.net. I am involved in our local theater guild, in a Toastmasters club, and volunteer for the local Autism Support Group chapter in town. I am also a clown for birthdays and events at church and the community. Teach recommended me to star in a police training video to help officers across North Carolina learn how to deal with autistic individuals. I believe that video is still being used. I am very involved in church life also, playing the organ for a small Presbyterian church on Sunday mornings, and then going to my church, where I am a member, and participating in choir and kids ministry, and help where I am needed. I started thinking about running for school board in Lincoln County in December of 2015, when our current mayor, who just happened to be my speech therapist in elementary school, had to give up his seat because of being elected mayor. The reason I decided to run was because I want to represent the kids in the school system that are special needs, who have autism like I do, and are labeled ADD, ADHD, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, and other special needs. I not only care about and love the kids with special needs, but also care about and love all kids and work well with them. To prepare for the election, I ordered business cards to hand out at events, including the Apple Festival in September. I talked to people and told them what I stood for, and through people in my church, particularly my men's group, designed and ordered campaign signs. I had help from friends and family putting out my signs. And on election day, my one-on-one worker and I went around to the different polling places, handing out my cards and talking to people asking for their vote. I was so excited and didn't know what to do when I found out that I had won that night. I was sworn into my position December the 13th, my first meeting, and have committee meetings on the first Tuesday of every month and regular board meetings on the second Tuesday of the month. So far, it has been 4 months of meetings and even a 2-day training conference in January in Raleigh to understand how to do well the job the citizens of Lincoln County elected me to do. I am learning things as I go, since I have never done anything like this before. This is a 4-year position, and I will learn even more as the 4 years go on. I have asked that as a school board member, I be allowed to visit the special education classes in our county schools. My goal in this is to learn from the students and teachers what they need to be able to learn or teach better. I can then take these suggestions back to the school board and see if we can incorporate them into our curriculum. I may also try to find out what is happening in special education in other places in North Carolina and around the United States to see if there are things that we have not yet considered, but which seem to be making a difference in special education and in other places. Through my experiences and my position on the Lincoln County Board of Education, I hope to make the walk through life a little easier for every child. Some helpful things for you may be, don't say no or I can't. Say, I will try. Don't be afraid to try. I was not afraid to try things and didn't say no, except about things that required me to climb high. I don't like heights. I took piano lessons for 6 years. I have to admit to you, though, I'm not sure how much good they did me. I started playing the piano by ear when I was 4 years old. One day, at Christmas time, my mom and dad were working in the kitchen when they heard Christmas carols being played on the piano. They asked each other who had left the radio on, but neither one had. When they struck their heads into the living room, there I was playing the carols on Mom's piano. After we moved to Lincolnton, after one Sunday service, Dad was coming back up the aisle after greeting people leaving the church, and he heard the organist playing a beautiful improvisation on the pipe organ and thought that he would go compliment her. The problem was the organist was walking down the aisle toward him. "Kitty," he said, "who is that playing the organ?" "Oh, that's Kirk," she said. She had let him take over the expensive pipe organ, and Dad could not tell it was me. That led another lady in the church to offer to give me piano lessons. So Mom and Dad agreed. After a year's lessons at my first recital, as I took the place of the piano with my teacher beside me, I looked out at the audience, closed my eyes, and played the pieces perfectly. That's when we knew that I was not learning to read notes, but only playing what I had heard. Remember, I'm an auditory learner. I'm in a Toastmasters club because a speaker at an autism conference I went to suggested to get involved in a Toastmasters as a way you can improve social skills and become more comfortable speaking in public. I'm taking voice lessons because I joined an Old Town Carolers group who get paid for performing. Since I could not accept pay for taking part, the leader offered me voice lessons instead. Since then, I have had a solo recital singing 10 selections and have another coming up on April 1st. Every Friday, I go to one of our local nursing homes and spend time with some of the residents, especially those who cannot get out of their rooms. I read to them, often from the Bible or a devotional book. I pray with them or talk with them. One of the residents likes to listen to CDs, so I use a CD player and play a CD and converse with her. Sometimes I am allowed to play the piano in the activities room for the residents and staff. I love people and doing all I can to help them have a better quality of life. And I ran for and was elected to school board, just to name a few examples. Dr. Temple Grandin, who is one of the most accomplished and well-known adults with autism and has written several books and has overcome challenges, is an inspiration to me. I had the opportunity to meet and interview her last February in Savannah, Georgia. One of Dr. Grandin's quotes is there needs to be a lot more emphasis on what a child can do instead of what they cannot do. That has been true of the support my family and friends have given me. Her life, with all its challenges and successes, was brought to the screen with the HBO full-length film Temple Grandin, starring Claire Danes. Dr. Grandin has been featured on NPR, National Public Radio, and she has a 2010 TED Lecture titled "The World Needs All Kinds of Minds." She has also been featured on the BBC special, The Woman Who Thinks Like a Cow, ABC's Primetime Live, The Today Show, and more. Grandin developed her talents into a successful career as a livestock handling equipment designer, one of very few in the world. She also speaks on both autism and cattle handling. Dr. Grandin's current best-selling book on autism is The Way I See It, a personal look at autism and Asperger's. She has also authored Unwritten Rules of Social Relationships and Thinking in Pictures. Grandin is considered a physiological leader of both the animal welfare and autism advocacy movements, autism training and resources for law enforcement, emergency first responders, parents, educators, caregivers, and for the autism community. Build a support system for yourself of friends and family. There are people who will help. Know that you do not have to fight alone. There is help and support out there. Take advantage of the support that is out there and use them. I credit God and my family and friends for where I am in life. Without God and supportive family and friends, I would not be where I am today. You need the right kind of support in school and what you do in life. With the right kind of support and with God, you will succeed. Never ever give up. Keep on going. Keep on trying. Because if you keep on trying, you will succeed in life. Don't drop out and don't foul out of life, and you will be a success. Here is a short summary of what I think I have learned through help, trial, and error, and by persistence about building a better future for yourself. What can parents in the audience do? What can adults with autism in the audience do? Number one, get an early and accurate diagnosis. Oh, what a relief it is. Persist until you get a logical diagnosis. Test results may not tell the full story. The autism spectrum is very broad. Start with your family doctor, but don't accept just one answer. You may need to try other testing options until you find what makes sense. Don't be embarrassed that you are unique. Being awesome means being who you really are and not what other people expect you to be. Here are 3 ways to be more awesome. Number 1, stop worrying about what other people think, instead of trying to live in accordance with other people's expectations. Live in accordance with your values. Number 2, be authentically you. Be the awesome, quirky, unique person that you are. Belonging comes from being yourself and finding people who love you that way, not from pretending to be someone else. Do what you love. Awesome people pursue their passions, whether it's oil painting, bird watching, or playing the tuba, singing, or playing piano. Find out what is available. Use many different resources. Autism advocacy groups such as Autism Speech and Autism Society have excellent websites. Read material from your local library, bookstore, or online at autismbookstore.com. Connect with a local autism support group. Attend conferences such as this one and make connections. Watch TED Talks. TED Talks are influential videos which expert speakers on education, business, science, technology, and creativity. Featured speakers include Wendy Chung, Steve Silberman, Dr. Temple Grandin. More resources exist today than ever before. Utilize them. Number 2, don't let the naysayers have the final say. It's easy to listen to the negatives and give up. Don't. Number 3, find your interest and follow your dreams. Use your talents. It's your life. What do you want it to be like? What makes you happy? Determine what makes you happy. Examples: photography, swimming, singing, research, writing a blog. Then step up and do it. Everyone in the world has something positive to contribute. Find your passion. Examples of adults with autism include Dan Aykroyd, actor and award-winning screenwriter; Susan Boyle, singer; Dr. Temple Grandin, animal science and writer; Daryl Hannah, actress; John Elder Robinson, writer; probably Albert Einstein; and of course me, Kirk Herbertson, photographer, journalist, and school board member.
Amen.
Get and fight for special conditions that meet your needs. Advocate for your child's education. Don't give up if the local school system can't or won't. Provide what your child needs. Moving to a system that has more opportunities is an option, or fight to have those options offered in your local school system. North Carolina has additional options such as Teach. In all, communication matters. Chloe Wrightchild writes, "If I could just tell you, I would, because why would I want to go through so much just to be heard?" You and your child deserve to be heard. Find out what kind of learner you are and use that to become your best. Find tools and methods that fit your style. Know your rights under the law. Ask for extra help. Self-advocate. If you can't find what you need or want, ask for it. Don't forget those who can't communicate. Be their voice. John L. Robinson eloquently describes his take on the wider autism self-advocacy movement in the following excerpts from an article he wrote in Psychology Today. Autism is a communication disorder with a broad range of effect. Some people's autism makes them eccentric and geeky. Other people can't speak at all as a result of more severe autistic disability. Therefore, in the world of autism, some of the population is capable of what some call self-advocacy, while another part is not. It should come as no surprise to those groups that they would have different wants and needs. The disunity of need and purpose is a fundamental issue we must address. At its heart, self-advocacy is nothing more than speaking up and getting what you want. Let your voice be heard. Autism is a journey all of us share. Enjoy the trip. Number 5, build a good support system. Find professionals who can help. Use social media. Develop personal contacts. Don't take no personally. And 6, never give up.
Is happy to answer any questions that folks might have. So, what we can do...
and my parents are here to help too, answer the questions. If I don't know...
So, actually, if you have a question, if you can come to the middle of the room, that would probably be easier. I don't mind running back and forth, but I also don't want to trip over anybody. And Kurt, your term is a 4-year term on the Lincoln County School Board.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And Kurt, I think one thing that I'll put your information up on the board for folks if they would like to connect with you. So that's Kurt's email as well as his Facebook information. And you are happy for folks to contact you, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Here's a question for you.
Buenas tardes. Mi primera pregunta. ¿Cómo poder ayudar a otros niños en la misma situación a que ellos aprendan cosas de la Biblia?
Good afternoon.
Yes.
My first question is how to help other kids for them to learn things about the Bible.
That's very good.
Well, I would take them to church and get them involved in Sunday school and kids ministry if your church has kids ministry, and help that way.
¿Me podría dar una copia de su poema? Muy bonito.
You're beautiful, and your poem was beautiful. Thank you so much. Would it be possible to share a copy of it?
Sure.
We'll make sure that we're going to be sending out the information for the survey, and what we'll do is we'll also make sure that Kurt's poem, I need to get a copy of that by the way, is available. We'll post a link for you.
Buenas tardes. Ahora que usted está dentro de las escuelas, estaría bien que no pusieran tantos requisitos para los niños con autismo. Porque ahora los niños cuando tienen un diagnóstico tienen que volver a ser diagnosticados por la escuela para poderles hacer de válido ese diagnóstico de autismo o de espectro autismo. Ojalá pudiera usted ayudarnos a que se respetaran esos diagnósticos de psicólogos, porque hay muchos papás que hemos luchado solos para que un niño tenga un diagnóstico y tenga que volver a pasar por otro diagnóstico.
Good afternoon. Now that you are in the Board of Education, I would like to make a recommendation. So for the children that are diagnosed with autism, sometimes we have to fight a lot as parents to get them diagnosed properly by a psychologist. But then when they go into the school system, the school wants to reevaluate them, to get tested again, to get diagnosed. So it would be great, if that diagnosis was respected, that we fought so hard to get. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions for Kurt?
She has a question. She said if there's two diagnoses, you get the diagnosis from Teach, and then the school said, the school says, okay, he has the diagnosis, and then the Teach just comes out and says, okay, well, there's no more you don't have autism. What would you do? Which one would be more valid? The school?
I think the more valid one would be Teach. That would be the more valid thing.
And did everybody hear the exchange? The question was, someone gets a diagnosis from somewhere of autism spectrum disorder, and then there's a disagreement from Teach, I think, or there's disagreement between the school and Teach. The question was, in Kurt's opinion, which one would he rely on? And Kurt's answer was Teach.
I'm one of the autism resource specialists for the Charlotte area, and I wanted to talk about that for just a second anyway, because it comes up a lot. Schools cannot diagnose children with autism. They don't have medical doctors, so the Teach diagnosis would be from a medical doctor. Schools can only classify children to receive special education services. So a child could be diagnosed with autism, but if they're very high functioning and they get good grades, then they wouldn't qualify for special ed.
Doctors and licensed psychologists.
And licensed psychologists, I'm sorry. They can diagnose, schools cannot.
And actually,
Can I ask a question?
I think Dad's going to ask a question.
When Kirk was coming up, of course, that's a long time ago, he was obviously not diagnosed with Asperger's at that point, but the thing that produced the results for him in school was the school psychologist. Is that still true?
Yes.
The school psychologist evaluates, and then they're placed according to what the school psychologist says.
But that's not a diagnosis.
No, it's not a diagnosis, but it's a
Classification.
classification is used to place the child in the school system.
Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. One thing I really appreciated about your talk was that you talked about work you do with other people, that you read to people and that you do music for people. And I wanted to know, what role do you think service plays in the way that you feel about yourself?
What role?
Yeah, in other words, do you think doing service for other people helps you feel good about yourself?
I do. I think it helps me feel good about myself, yes.
And Kirk, how many days a week are you out doing things in the community?
A lot. I'm very busy.
Check his Facebook feed. He doesn't stop moving.
That's right. Yeah.
Michelle, and my son Giovanni is 9. What do you or your parents think is the universal response for the ignorant people as we tend to witness the bullying or other behaviors and responses to autistic children?
The universal response. Want to answer that yet?
I didn't quite understand that. Could you?
I think her question was, how should, were you asking for Kurt or his parents? The question is, how do you respond to folks that don't understand what autism is or ignorant about it? We used the term, I think in one of the last sessions, it was, there are going to be people that are out there that are ignorant regarding what autism is and what it's not. So how do you handle those interactions?
Don't listen to the naysayers.
You want to add anything to that?
Don't listen to the naysayers.
I think that's probably a difficult thing to do. I think for the autistic person, the person on the spectrum, they have to first come to the place where they feel good about themselves. And that takes a lot of support from family and friends and the community, that from people who are close enough to the person to know them and to know their capabilities. And then, as Temple Grandin says, to focus on what the person can do rather than what they can't do. So if you can build that kind of a support system where he or she has that kind of support, then you can say to whoever comes and does not understand, this is a unique individual who can do things in a way that other people do not do them, or do things that other people cannot do. But he or she is not like everybody else. This is a unique individual, and that uniqueness is very important for the people of the community. This is a God-allowed, a God-given gift to do something as a unique individual.
Amen. That's good. That's good.
Any questions from this side of the room? Everybody's been quiet over here.
It's okay. So you ran for the school board. What did you have to do? What were the steps that you took?
Well, I had to go file at the school board office, and then I had to order some business cards and hand them out at different functions and festivals, and talk to people in the community, and just different things like that, and tell them what I stood for. And
Forum.
Oh, and I had a public forum that we had questions at, and that was part of.
You put signs out too.
And I put signs out.
Tell them the vote totals.
The vote totals were 15,319 to 13,690.
So, we're in an age now where more and more people are thinking about running for office. There seems to be a renewed interest in different people running. What advice would you give them? And I think maybe you said some of what I guess you would say is don't listen to the naysayers. But what would you advise somebody who's running for office?
What I would advise somebody, I would tell them just to try their best and not give up. Just go for it.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
As a parent of my daughter, she's high functioning, but have you seen increased resources since you've been on the board as a big advocate for someone on the spectrum?
Now what?
Have you seen an increase or implemented increased resources since you have been on the Board of Ed?
Well, I haven't been on there long enough. I've only been there 4 months. I know.
Sorry, you still got 3 years, 8 months. You got a little bit of time. Okay. 4-year plan, right?
Yeah.
while he's visiting the schools.
Kurt, I've passed you in the hall several times, and it just, you know, that guy from somewhere, can't quite wrap my head around how I know him. And then it kind of dawned on me a little bit, especially when you said you're active in your community, really active in your church, and your church is also a community outreach. So I guess I'll see you at men's camp this year.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
I'm playing chess again.
What now?
I think I played you chess a couple of years back.
Oh, okay.
He beat me all the way.
I just wanted to say that, you know, you were talking about you accepted Jesus into your heart. I have to give God the glory because both our boys graduate this year from college, and both are on the spectrum. Our youngest was here last night to be with us, and he's a senior at UNC Charlotte. He will graduate cum laude, electrical engineering.
Wow.
And we were told he was the little boy sitting in the corner. Garrett it would be easier to work with prisoners in the prison system than it would be to work with him. And so he's going to graduate cum laude. His junior year, he was actually a junior marshal. So we're proud of Mom and Dad. And our nephew, he is actually our autistic son, and he will graduate in sports medicine technology and at our local community college. So we have to give God the glory and the praise for that.
There you go.
And
Amen.
these
Amen.
things happen, especially when we're told that these things will not happen. And we have to encourage one another. And because when we're told these things will not happen, and they do happen. And
That's right.
they're graduating college. Yay.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never give up. Never give up. Never give up. Never give up.
They're graduating college, and yay. They're doing it. I'm gonna be the big now.
So sorry. Okay, I'll work my way back around. This way, and then two more over there. Yep. Yes, you were here last night too.
Yes. I'm Stuart Hyde. I'm like him, but I'm self-diagnosed. 10 years ago, I found out about Asperger's, and I am actively trying to resolve it. The biggest struggle I have is dealing with other people and communicating and getting over your fears. I've actually done what she was mentioning in prison. I had to get the bird out. I actually would normally be on this weekend be helping out with Kairos, but I decided not to do it this time. I've actually served in prison with a Christian thing called Kairos. I've gone down there, I do dancing. The biggest thing I think is, and I think faith has led me here today. One of the things I want to do one day is create a school to help people with autism overcome it. And I think, especially with him being an educator, I think God's led me here today. I'll tell you one thing, as a person on the spectrum, dealing with God is a struggle for me, but I've done a lot of things, and I think this is important. I think people got to understand the biggest struggle I have is that I always feel alone. I can be on a ship with 5,000 people and feel alone. What did you do to overcome that feeling?
What did I do to overcome it? I just trusted God. That's what I did to overcome it.
I would say you also actively seek out support. Though.
Yes, I actively seek out support from friends and family and whoever.
How many new friends have you made in the last 48 hours, Kurt?
Gosh. A lot.
I don't say that.
we probably need to wrap.
Chris, you're such an inspiration. Anytime I see someone that stands there, I see in him my son, who is non-verbal. We're not all lucky to have children that are verbal. If there's one thing that you would say that we will not hear from our children that are non-verbal, what would you say to your parents and people that are supporting you and are with you?
Oh, what a question.
In grief, that we can just kind of that represent other children that cannot talk.
I didn't understand the question.
Explain it to him, Dave, if you can.
I think, how would you sum up your advice to parents for encouraging their children who are nonverbal?
Just keep on, keeping on. Just.
What would you say to your parents?
I would,
To your parents now.
want to answer that, Dad?
Sorry,
I think you focus on what your child can do, encourage them at every opportunity, and let them know that they are something special.
Yeah.
Even if they can't.
Mi hijo tiene autismo, tengo gemelos con autismo y los dos pueden comunicarse a la mitad, no all way, por completo. Está correcto que mi hijo cuando se presente con alguien deje saber su deshabilidad o cómo se presenta usted con personas nuevas.
Yes, hi. I have a son with autism, and he has some communication skills, not a lot, but some. And I'm wondering if when he introduces himself to a new person, should he tell him that he has autism? How do you do it? Like when you're meeting new people, do you tell them that? Or
Yes,
share that
I do
with them?
tell them I have autism. I let people know that I have autism.
I have an 18-year-old son, and this is my first time at a conference, so I'm very excited to go home and talk with him about some of the things I've learned here. And I would like your advice on what's the one thing I could say to him that would really make a difference.
Just tell them all.
Never
Tell
give
them they're unique and they're special. Tell them not to listen to the naysayers. You know,
I put in the never give up.
all that sort of stuff. To trust God.
And to tell them never give up.
And I think that Kurt's talking point.
Amen.
Kurt, in your talking points and bullets on the things that you think are really important, that's what's in the handout. It should be in everybody's packet, and that's part of it. So, last question.
Hi, nice to meet you. I was just wondering, what are some of the struggles and stuff that you had to come deal with growing up, and even now, so that's how you ask.
Well, I had to deal with bullying in school and frustration, anger, different things like that.
Also, Kirk is a people person. He loves people, and he gives to people all the time. And it is very frustrating then to come up and like have with somebody who is just totally different and, you know, wants to tease him all the time. Oh, he had so much teasing as a child. And fortunately, I know the Lord just stood there by him because he bounced away from it every time, you know. But I think that's very important if you can just encourage them with who they are and that God made them as a special person and that they have gifts and that kind of thing. And you may just have to tune out that person who's bugging him for a while and fill him with the knowledge that he is a good person and a person with many gifts that God has given him.
What you were just saying is don't stop believing in yourself and continue to remember who you are, what you stand for, and despite what other people say.
And there will be people who won't understand. Kurt was always very much a people person and wanted to be close to his teachers. And he wanted to go up and hug them and love them. And he had one, and she could not handle him because he always wanted to be outgoing and close, and she felt like she needed to keep him at arm's length because she couldn't be close to him.
To the point that she was mean.
Yeah, and I think that you have to tell your child, there are just some people who don't understand what you go through, what you face, and how you have to deal with things. And I think you just have to explain to him or her that there are always going to be some that won't know what to do with them.
And Ashley,
Hey, Kurt, I have met you yesterday, and you're just a great person. And this is not a question to you. I just want to say to you, thank you for being up here, for everything that you've done, everything you will do to help people with disabilities. You are just amazing, and always remember that. Thank you.
Good job.
I just wanted to say one thing. My son is 10 and he is autistic, and he's dealt with a lot of the teasing and the bullying and the teachers not understanding. And what helped him the most is, on his own, he did research about autism and what it is and what specifically represented him on the spectrum. And he took that and made a presentation and showed his entire classroom and told them, listen, when I come in and I'm in a bad mood or I'm mean or I don't understand something, I'm not a bad person, but this is what I am. And these are the ways that you can help me. And it was almost overnight that all of a sudden everybody changed and they're like, we love Hayden and we want to go do this with him. As far as, like 2 weeks before, they're like, you're kind of angry sometimes. We're just going to step back. But I think that helped a lot. So if you can encourage them to be open with it, don't be embarrassed about it, but be open with what they have and what helps them specifically. And a lot of people, especially children, they really respond to that.
Good word.
we have one last thing. The cards made it in here, so we're not going to notify by that email. Kirk, if you will draw the winner for the 2018 pre-registration for the day. Maybe read it.
I'll read it.
It's Kim M. Gromko. Gromko.
So I don't know if Kim's not here, we will contact her, but Kim has won today's drawing. Please give Kirk another round of applause. And again, we will be sending out an evaluation. You get to share feedback on Kirk's presentation as well as everything else that you've heard today, and if you were here yesterday as well. We value that input, so please make sure that you budget less than 5 minutes to complete that and send it back to us. We will be back in Charlotte for our conference in 2018, same location, same hotel. I'll get the date to you later. Please drive safely going home, and please let us know as an organization how we can continue to support you between now and next year. Thank you very much.